They say the dead can't hurt you. They're wrong. My name is Patricia, and 6 weeks ago, I buried my husband of 20 years. James collapsed in our kitchen on a Tuesday evening, heart attack at 48, and just like that, my world shattered. I'm a nurse. I've held dying hands, whispered comfort to strangers taking their last breaths. But when the man I loved crumpled to the floor, clutching his chest, all my training meant nothing. I couldn't save him. The funeral was a blur of black dresses and sympathetic hugs. Our church community turned out in force, black folks from every corner of Chicago showing up to support the widow and her babies. Michael, my 16-year-old, stood stone-faced beside me. Angela, just 12, sobbed into my side. I remember Sarah from James's office bringing flowers, mascara running down her young face as she squeezed my hand. "He was such a good man," she whispered. I believed her. God help me, I believed every word. For 6 weeks, I moved through fog, working double shifts at the hospital because sitting in our empty house was suffocating, coming home to find Angela sleeping in James's old shirt, watching Michael punch walls in rage at a father who'd never see him graduate. I carried us, like I always had. When James lost his job 5 years ago, I worked overtime to keep us afloat. When his confidence shattered, I rebuilt him word by word, prayer by prayer. That's what love is, right? Sacrifice, strength, showing up. That's what I thought love was. Until 3 a.m. on a Wednesday night when sleep wouldn't come and grief pressed against my chest like a stone. I was lying in bed, tears silent on my cheeks, when I heard it. Ping. The sound pierced the darkness. James's phone on the nightstand, still charging out of habit, lit up like a traitor in the dark. My hands trembled as I reached for it. Who texts a dead man at 3 a.m.? I unlocked it with our anniversary date. The message glowed on the screen, each word a knife. Is she gone yet? We need to talk about the money. Can't wait forever. She? Money? My stomach dropped like I'd stepped off a cliff. The number wasn't saved, but something in those words, the casual cruelty, the impatience, made my heart pound. I scrolled up, deleted messages. But I'm a nurse, not a fool. I know how to recover data from cloud backups. What I found in the next hour destroyed every memory I had of the man I'd loved since college. 3 years of messages, photos, plans. A woman named Sarah, young, ambitious, hungry. My husband promising her everything, our money, our future, my life. But here's the thing, Sarah didn't know when she sent that text. She didn't know that I just found everything, every lie, every transfer, every cruel word James had said about me, the woman who'd held his family together while he planned his escape. And she definitely didn't know what a black woman scorned is capable of when she stops grieving and starts getting even. If you want to see how I made them both pay for every betrayal, hit that subscribe button, because this story is just beginning, and trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next. The phone felt heavy in my hands, heavier than it should. Or maybe that was just the weight of what I was about to uncover pressing down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. I sat up in bed, the silk bonnet on my head suddenly feeling too tight. The anniversary date, October 15th. Our fingers intertwined, his voice saying forever as we exchanged rings 20 years ago. I typed it in. The phone unlocked. One unread message glowed at the top, but my eyes caught something else, something that made my nurse's training kick in. That clinical detachment that helps you function when someone's dying in front of you. The message thread was deleted, recently. I could see the gap where conversations should have been, like missing teeth in a smile. But James never knew I'd set up his phone for him years ago. Never knew I'd linked it to the cloud backup that saved everything. Never knew that his technologically challenged wife, the one he called adorable when she couldn't figure out his streaming passwords, had actually been the one to set up his entire digital life. I opened the backup recovery. My hands weren't shaking anymore. They were steady, surgical. 3 years of messages loaded like a slow-motion car crash. The earliest ones were almost innocent, flirty. You look amazing today. That presentation was fire. Grabbing coffee? Then they escalated. Can't stop thinking about you. Photos appeared, her in lingerie, him shirtless in what I recognized as a hotel room, the Hilton downtown where he'd claimed he stayed for a conference last year. I'd packed his suitcase for that trip, folded his clothes with care, tucked a note in his briefcase. Come home safe, we love you. My breath came faster. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Next weekend, I told her it's a sales training in Detroit. Detroit. He'd brought me back a shot glass from the airport. I'd used it for my morning vitamins, never knowing. The messages got bolder, crueler. She doesn't understand me like you do. Can't wait to leave her. She's holding me back. I stopped breathing. The words blurred. Holding him back? I'd worked 60-hour weeks when he lost his job. I'd deferred my dream of travel nursing to keep the kids stable when he was depressed, staring at the ceiling like his life had ended. I'd held him while he cried about feeling like a failure, whispered that he was enough, that we'd make it through anything together. And all that time, he'd been planning his exit. Once she's out of the picture, we can start our real life. Out of the picture. The phone slipped from my hands onto the comforter. I stared at the ceiling, the same ceiling James had stared at during his unemployment, the same ceiling I'd painted Robin's egg blue because he said it reminded him of hope. The ceiling swam. Tears tracked hot paths down my cheeks, soaking into my pillowcase. 3 years. He'd been lying for 3 years. Every I love you. Every anniversary celebration. Every time he'd made love to me and whispered my name, all of it contaminated, rotted from the inside like a tooth with hidden decay. I grabbed the phone again, kept scrolling. I needed to see it all, needed to know exactly how deep the knife went. The plans were detailed. Weekends disguised as business trips, at least 8 in the past year alone. Hotel rooms charged to a credit card I'd never seen. A secret Venmo account transferring small amounts. For us, he wrote, building our future. Our future. While I built our present with my own calloused hands. Then I saw the photo that broke me. Us, at our vow renewal ceremony 5 years ago. Me in my ivory dress, him in his best suit, Angela and Michael standing proud beside us as we recommitted ourselves to each other in front of our church family. Karen had cried. My mama had cried. I'd cried tears of joy because we'd survived the hard times and come out stronger. James had sent it to Sarah with a caption, "Playing the part. Can't wait until I don't have to pretend anymore." The sob that tore out of me was animal, raw. I clapped my hand over my mouth, not wanting to wake the kids. Michael and Angela didn't need to hear their mother falling apart at 3:30 in the morning, but inside, I was screaming. I couldn't go back to sleep, couldn't unsee what I'd seen. My mind raced like I'd downed 5 espressos, thoughts colliding and fragmenting. The emails. I needed to check his emails. James used the same password for everything, our wedding date backwards. He'd always been sloppy with security despite my nagging. Who's gonna hack a salesman's email? He'd laugh. Who indeed? I opened his laptop, tucked in his nightstand drawer where it had sat untouched since his death. The screen glowed to life, casting blue light across the dark bedroom. I bypassed his personal email. I'd already read his condolences from coworkers, had already sent thank you responses, and went straight to his linked financial accounts. What I found made my nurse's salary look like pocket change. Venmo transfers, dozens of them, starting small, $50 here, $100 there, then growing, $500, $1,000, $2,500 in a single transfer 6 months ago with a note for my baby's new car. My stomach lurched. Baby. This grown woman was his baby while I was, what? The burden he couldn't wait to shed? I pulled up our bank statements. Our joint account showed regular deposits from my nursing shifts. His sales commissions went in automatically, but there were transfers I'd never noticed before. Small enough to fly under the radar. $200 here, $350 there. Siphoned off to an account number I didn't recognize. I tracked it down through his email. A separate savings account, Opened 2 years ago, just in his name. Current balance $47,000. My hands clenched into fists. $47,000, while I'd been picking up extra shifts to help save for Angela's braces. While we delayed fixing the leaking roof because money was tight. While I'd been clipping coupons and shopping sales and telling Michael we couldn't afford the basketball camp he wanted, James had $47,000 hidden away. For our future, the account was nicknamed. I kept digging. Found the life insurance policy paperwork, the one I'd insisted he get after his scare with high blood pressure 3 years ago. $500,000 policy. I was listed as the beneficiary, our kids as secondary. Except, there was a draft email saved from 3 months ago. Dear Allstate Insurance, I need to update my beneficiary information. He'd been trying to change it, to list Sarah as the primary beneficiary. But the email was never sent, saved in drafts, waiting for the right moment. The right moment never came because James's heart gave out before he could erase me completely. A bitter laugh escaped my throat. His procrastination, the same procrastination that drove me crazy when he'd leave laundry in the washer for days, had saved me from complete financial ruin. But the intent was there. The betrayal was complete. I found more emails. To a divorce lawyer, consultation scheduled for 2 months from now, a month from now in the current timeline. James had been building his case, documenting our incompatibility, claiming I was emotionally distant and focused only on work. Emotionally distant. I'd worked myself to exhaustion to support our family, and he documented it as evidence that I was the problem. The paper trail painted a clear picture. James hadn't just been having an affair. He'd been methodically planning to destroy everything we'd built, take the money, and start over with a woman young enough to be his daughter. Every dollar I'd earned in overtime. The shifts where my feet ached so badly I could barely drive home, where I'd missed Michael's basketball games and Angela's school plays because the hospital needed me. He'd been redirecting to fund his escape plan. My overtime money had paid for hotel rooms where he betrayed me, had bought jewelry for another woman, had built a nest egg for a future that didn't include the wife who'd sacrificed everything. The sun was starting to rise outside my window. Pink light filtered through the curtains James and I had picked out together at Target. Everything in this house was a lie. Every memory contaminated. But as I sat there surrounded by evidence of his betrayal, something shifted inside me. The grief was still there, raw and bleeding, but underneath it, something else was growing. Something cold and sharp and focused. James was gone. I couldn't confront him, couldn't demand answers or apologies, couldn't watch him grovel or see remorse in his eyes. But Sarah? Sarah was very much alive, and she'd sent that text thinking she could just collect her blood money. Is she gone yet? No, sweetheart. I'm not gone. I'm just getting started. I called Karen at 7 a.m. She answered on the second ring, voice thick with sleep. Pat? Girl, what's wrong? Can you come over? My voice was calm. Too calm. The calm before a storm. I need you. She heard it in my tone. That flatness that comes when you've cried so hard, there's nothing left. 20 minutes, she said. 15 minutes later, she was at my door with a bag from McDonald's and a grimness in her eyes that said she knew this wasn't about grief anymore. We sat at my kitchen table, the same table where James had eaten his last meal, and I showed her everything. The phone, the messages, the photos, the emails, the money trail. Karen's face went through every emotion I'd felt in the past 4 hours. Shock, disbelief, rage. By the time I got to the part about the life insurance policy, she was standing, pacing my kitchen like a caged panther. That motherfucker, she hissed. Karen never cursed. She was a church deacon's daughter. But this warranted every profanity in the book. We pieced together the timeline. The affair started 3 years ago, right after James got his new position at the tech company. His confidence came back. His swagger returned. I'd been so relieved, so grateful that my husband had found himself again. Except the man he'd found wasn't the one who'd married me. It was someone who wanted a do-over, a younger model, a fresh start. "Sarah Thompson," Karen read from the messages, her voice dripping venom. "I know that name. She came to the funeral." My blood turned to ice. "What?" "The young sister with the expensive shoes. She brought those white roses. She was crying like—" Karen's eyes went wide. "Oh my God, she was crying like she'd lost her man, because she thought she had." The image came back to me. Mascara running down a pretty face, manicured hand squeezing mine. Those words, "He was such a good man." She'd stood in my house, hugged my children, cried over my husband's casket, all while knowing exactly what she'd done. The rage that rose in me was volcanic. "I'm hiring a private investigator," I said. My voice was steel. "I need to know everything about this woman." "Pat, maybe you should just what?" I cut her off. "Let it go? Move on? Pretend that my husband didn't spend 3 years planning to leave me with nothing? That this woman isn't out there right now thinking she can text his phone and collect money that belongs to my children?" Karen sat down, reached across the table, and took my hand. Her eyes were wet. "You're right. I'm sorry. You're absolutely right." We spent the next hour digging deeper. Karen, God bless her, had a cousin who worked in tech. Within 30 minutes, we had Sarah's full name, her workplace, her social media profiles. Sarah Thompson, 28 years old, marketing coordinator at James's company, married. Her husband's name is David, Karen read from Facebook. He's a teacher, posted about their 5-year anniversary 6 months ago. So she'd been cheating on her husband the same way James had been cheating on me. But somehow, seeing her wedding photos, her in white, smiling at a man who had no idea what kind of woman he'd married, made it worse. We weren't just collateral damage. We were marks, fools, people too trusting to see the knives being sharpened behind our backs. I kept scrolling through the messages, found one from 8 months ago that made my hands shake so hard Karen had to take the phone. "Your vow renewal was so cringe," Sarah had written. "Can't believe you had to stand there and lie to her face." James's response, "The things I do for peace and quiet. But not for much longer, baby. Lawyer consult is set. This time next year, I'll be yours completely." Karen's voice cracked as she read it aloud. "Pat." The vow renewal. The ceremony where I'd cried tears of joy, where I'd thanked God for giving me a partner who'd weathered every storm with me, where I'd recommitted my life to a man who was secretly counting down the days until he could be free of me. He'd mocked it, made it a joke, turned my sincerity into something pathetic. Something inside me crystallized, hardened. That part of me that had been soft and giving and endlessly patient for 20 years went quiet. In its place, something else emerged. "The life insurance," I said quietly. "He never finished changing the beneficiary. It all comes to me." "How much?" $500,000. Karen's eyes went wide. "Sweet Jesus. Plus that secret account with $47,000. Legally, it's all mine. Community property laws. Doesn't matter that only his name was on it." Understanding dawned in Karen's eyes. "You're not just going to let this go, are you?" I thought about my children. Michael upstairs, probably awake, listening to music too loud to drown out the grief. Angela still asleep, clutching her father's shirt like a lifeline. They didn't know their father had been planning to abandon them too, that those business trips, where he'd missed Michael's games and Angela's dance recitals, weren't about work at all. I thought about every extra shift I'd worked, every time I'd swallowed my own dreams to support his, every moment I'd believed in us while he was building an exit strategy. I thought about Sarah, 28 and beautiful and ruthless, texting a dead man's phone like I was just an inconvenience to be waited out. "No," I said, my voice quiet but absolute. "I'm not letting this go." I'd spent my whole life as a Black woman learning to be strong, to carry the load, to support and nurture and sacrifice without complaint. My mama raised me to be a pillar, someone others could lean on when the world got too heavy. But this wasn't about being strong anymore. This was about justice. I need you to help me find the best private investigator in Chicago, I told Karen, and I need you to help me make sure Sarah Thompson understands something very clearly. What's that? I looked at my best friend, and I knew she saw the change in my eyes, the shift from victim to something else entirely. I want her to understand that you don't get to destroy a woman's life and walk away unscathed. You don't get to text a dead man's phone asking, "Is she gone yet?" when she's standing right here, very much alive, very much awake. I stood up from the table, looked around my kitchen, at the family photos on the refrigerator, at Angela's crayon drawings still held up with magnets, at the coffee maker James used every morning. This was my house, my life, my family, and I'd be damned if I let anyone take it from me without a fight. "Call your cousin," I said. "Let's find out everything there is to know about Sarah Thompson and her perfect little life." Karen smiled, a fierce, protective smile that reminded me why we'd been friends for 20 years. Now that's the Patricia I know. As she pulled out her phone to make the call, I walked to the window. The sun was fully up now, Chicago spreading out before me in the morning light. Somewhere out there, Sarah was probably waking up next to her clueless husband, checking her phone to see if James's widow had responded yet. But there was something Sarah didn't know about me. I wasn't just a grieving widow. I was a woman who'd spent 20 years holding a family together through every storm, who'd worked myself to exhaustion and never quit, who'd been tested by poverty and unemployment and still came out standing. And if she thought grief made me weak, she was about to learn a very painful lesson. Hell hath no fury like a black woman betrayed. Marcus Webb came highly recommended. Karen's cousin knew him from his days as a Chicago PD detective before he went private. He met me at a coffee shop in Hyde Park, away from prying eyes. Late 40s, graying temples, eyes that missed nothing. "Mrs. Harris," he said, shaking my hand, "I'm sorry for your loss." "Don't be," I replied, sliding the folder across the table. "Not until you read what's in here." He spent 20 minutes going through the messages, the emails, the financial records. His expression never changed. He'd probably seen worse. But when he closed the folder, his jaw was tight. "You want everything on Sarah Thompson?" "Everything," I confirmed. Employment history, financial records, her husband, her friends, every skeleton in every closet. I want to know who this woman really is. "Budget?" I didn't hesitate. $10,000 to start. There's more if you need it. His eyebrows rose slightly. That insurance money was mine now, legally transferred into my account. James had procrastinated on changing the beneficiary, and the company had processed the payout within 2 weeks. $500,000, blood money maybe, but mine. "I'll have preliminary findings in 72 hours, Marcus said. He delivered in 48. We met at the same coffee shop. This time, Marcus had his own folder, thick. "Sarah Elizabeth Thompson, née Michaels," he began, flipping through pages. 28 years old, marketing coordinator at Stratford Tech Solutions, your husband's company. Started there 4 years ago, promoted twice. Currently makes $68,000 a year. "Not enough to support her lifestyle," I observed, thinking of those expensive shoes at the funeral. "Exactly." Marcus pulled out financial records. I didn't ask how he got them. Sarah has a spending problem. Credit card debt totaling $43,000 across 5 cards. Most of it luxury items, designer bags, expensive dinners, spa treatments, her car, a leased BMW X5, monthly payment $850. My stomach tightened. I drove a 10-year-old Honda. "Her husband, David Thompson, is a high school English teacher," Marcus continued. "Makes $52,000 a year. He also works weekends as a tutor to supplement income. By all accounts, he's a good guy. Coaches, debate team, volunteers at the public library. His students love him." Of course he was a good guy. Sarah wouldn't want someone who'd question her. "David knows about the debt?" I asked. "Not all of it. She's got 3 cards in her name only. Been hiding statements. But here's where it gets interesting." Marcus pulled out bank statements. "Your husband was sending her regular payments. Started small, couple hundred here and there. But in the last 6 months, He transferred over $15,000 total. $15,000, while I was eating leftovers for lunch to save money for Angela's field trip fees. There's more, Marcus said grimly. Sarah Thompson has a history. At her previous job, a marketing firm downtown, she had an affair with her married supervisor. That relationship ended when his wife found out and threatened legal action. Sarah quit before she could be fired. So this is a pattern. Appears so. At Stratford, she's known for being friendly with upper management. I spoke to a former colleague, off the record. She described Sarah as ambitious and willing to do whatever it takes to get ahead. There were rumors about her and a VP last year, but nothing proven. My hands clenched around my coffee cup. This woman was a predator, and James, my foolish, weak husband, had been her prey. One more thing, Marcus said quietly. Sarah's been texting your husband's phone almost daily, getting increasingly aggressive. He showed me screenshots. After that first 3 a.m. message, they'd escalated. Why aren't you responding? We had plans. The funeral was weeks ago. Time to move forward. I need to talk to you about our money. Call me. This isn't funny anymore. I have bills. You owe me. That last one made my blood boil. He owed her? For what? Destroying his marriage? Helping him betray his children? She doesn't know you've found everything, Marcus observed. She thinks James just went quiet. A plan was forming in my mind, cold, calculated, surgical. Can you find out more about David Thompson? I asked. I need to know what kind of man he is, his routines, his finances, everything. Marcus studied me for a long moment. You planning something specific? I'm planning justice, I said simply. David deserves to know what kind of woman he's married to, don't you think? A slow smile crossed Marcus's face. I'll have that information by tomorrow. I left the coffee shop with a clear sense of purpose. Sarah Thompson had helped destroy my marriage, had pressured my husband to drain our accounts, had stood at his funeral playing the grief-stricken colleague while texting his phone asking about money. She wanted to talk about what James owed her? Fine. We'd talk. But first, I needed to make sure every piece was in place. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with all the evidence spread before me. Messages, bank statements, photos. The whole sordid story of James's betrayal documented in black and white. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, but I knew who it was. I know you have James's phone. We need to talk. He made promises. I have rights. Rights. This woman thought she had rights to my family's money. I stared at that message for a long time. Every instinct screamed to respond, to unleash the fury building inside me. But no, not yet. Patience, strategy. That's what this required. I opened a new document on my laptop and started writing. A list, a plan, a systematic dismantling of Sarah Thompson's perfect little life. She wanted to know if I was gone yet? Oh, sweetheart, I was just getting started. The burner phone was Karen's idea. Don't use your real number, she'd advised. Keep everything at arm's length until you're ready. I composed the text carefully, channeling every legal drama I'd ever watched. This is Patricia Harris's legal representative. We are managing Mr. James Harris's estate. You have been texting the deceased's phone regarding financial matters. Please respond with your full name and relationship to the deceased for our records. Formal, professional, cold. I hit send and watched the 3 dots appear almost immediately. Sarah was eager. This is Sarah Thompson. I worked with James at Stratford Tech. He owed me money for a business venture we were planning. I need to discuss repayment terms. A business venture? That's what we were calling affairs now? I responded, Ms. Thompson, our office will need documentation of this alleged debt. Please forward all relevant contracts, agreements, or written proof of this business arrangement. Without proper documentation, we cannot process any claims against the estate. The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times. She was panicking, trying to figure out what to say. Finally, It was a verbal agreement. James promised me certain things. Can we meet in person to discuss? Perfect. We can arrange a meeting. However, all estate claimants must meet with Mrs. Harris present as the primary beneficiary and executor. Are you available next Tuesday at 2 p.m.? Our office is located downtown. The pause was longer this time. Sarah didn't want to face me, but greed won. Yes, I'll be there. What's the address? I gave her the address of my friend Ronald's law office. He'd been thrilled to help when I explained the situation. Watching a cheater get what's coming? Count me in, he'd said. With Sarah's meeting set, I turned my attention to David Thompson. Marcus had provided me with David's email address, the one he used for his tutoring business. I created an anonymous email account and spent an hour crafting the perfect message. Subject: concerning information about financial discrepancies. Dear Mr. Thompson, I am writing to you anonymously because I believe you deserve to know the truth about certain financial activities involving your spouse. I have discovered evidence of significant undisclosed debts and transfers that may affect your household finances. I'm not asking you to believe me without proof. I am providing documentation that you may verify independently. Please review the attached records carefully. Check your joint accounts for any unexplained withdrawals. Review credit card statements for charges you didn't authorize. I'm sorry to be the bearer of difficult news, but I believe you have a right to know. A concerned party. I attached screenshots of Sarah's credit card statements, the ones Marcus had obtained, with her name clearly visible, but no other identifying information that would reveal my identity. Enough to make David start asking questions, enough to crack the foundation of Sarah's lies. I hovered over the send button for a long moment. This would destroy David's marriage. This would hurt an innocent man. But he deserved the truth, didn't he? Just like I deserved the truth instead of 3 years of lies. I clicked send. Next, I turned to my nursing network. If there's one thing nurses are good at, it's gossip. We know everyone, hear everything, and have connections everywhere. I called my friend Denise, who worked at Northwestern. Her boyfriend worked in IT at Stratford Tech, James's company. Girl, I need a favor, I said, and it needs to stay between us. Anything, Pat, you know that. I explained what I needed. Nothing illegal, just information. Office dynamics, rumors, water cooler talk about Sarah Thompson. Denise called back 2 days later with a treasure trove. Okay, so everyone at Stratford knows about Sarah, she said, voice low, even though we were on the phone. She's slept with at least 3 married men in the company. HR has had multiple complaints, but she's careful. Never anything they can prove. Complaints from who? Other women, mostly. Wives who've noticed her getting too friendly with their husbands at company events. Female employees who feel uncomfortable with how she operates. But Sarah's smart. She targets men in power, guys who won't rock the boat because they have too much to lose. Like James, I said bitterly. Like James, Denise agreed softly. But here's the thing, Pat. There's one guy she was with before James, a VP named Richard Carlson. That affair ended badly. His wife found out, threatened to go to the board. Richard broke it off and Sarah was furious, started making his work life hell until he requested a transfer to the Seattle office. She has a pattern, I murmured. A clear one. She's a predator, Pat. I'm sorry. I thanked Denise and hung up. The picture was getting clearer. Sarah wasn't some innocent young woman swept away by passion. She was calculated, strategic. She targeted married men with money and power, extracted what she could, and moved on when they were no longer useful. James had just been her latest mark. Armed with this information, I made one more strategic move. I went to my bank and legally secured all of James's accounts. The secret account with $47,000, frozen and transferred to an estate account in my name. The joint accounts? All activity now required my signature. Sarah Thompson wouldn't see a penny of my family's money. That evening, I received an email notification. David Thompson had opened the message I sent him. I could almost picture him sitting at his desk, reading about his wife's secret debts, the credit cards he didn't know about, the expensive lifestyle he couldn't afford. I felt a twinge of guilt. David was collateral damage in this war, but then I thought about Michael and Angela. They were collateral damage too. At least David would learn the truth while he was still young enough to start over. My phone buzzed with another text from Sarah's number. She'd gone back to texting James's phone directly. "I'm done waiting. You left me hanging. I have expenses. I need that money now." I smiled. She still thought she was texting a dead man. Still thought she could demand what she believed she was owed. Soon she'd learn exactly how wrong she was. All the pieces were in place. Sarah had a meeting scheduled, not knowing she'd be walking into a room with the wife she'd helped betray. David had information that would make him start questioning everything, and I had enough evidence to bury Sarah's reputation at her workplace if it came to that. The board was set, the game was beginning, and Sarah Thompson had no idea she'd already lost. Ronald's law office was in the Loop, all glass and steel and professional intimidation. I arrived 30 minutes early wearing my best black suit, the one I'd worn to James's funeral, and my mama's pearl earrings. Armor, that's what this was. Ronald met me in his conference room. He was a big man, former linebacker at Howard University, now one of the most respected family law attorneys in Chicago. We'd gone to the same church for 15 years. "You ready for this?" he asked, squeezing my shoulder. "Born ready," I replied, though my heart was hammering. We went over the plan. Ronald would open with estate procedure. I would listen. We'd give Sarah just enough rope to hang herself. "She's going to lie," Ronald warned. "They always do. Stay calm. Don't let her see she's getting to you." At 1:58 p.m., Ronald's receptionist buzzed. "Ms. Thompson is here." "Send her in," Ronald said. The door opened. Sarah Thompson walked in like she owned the place. Tight red dress that was completely inappropriate for a legal meeting. Expensive heels, Louboutins. I recognized them from her Instagram that Marcus had shown me. Hair in perfect waves, makeup flawless. She looked like she was going to a club, not discussing a dead man's estate. Her eyes scanned the room, looking for the mysterious legal representative, I assumed. They slid past me like I was furniture. A middle-aged black woman in a conservative suit? Not worth her attention. "Mr. Walker?" She purred at Ronald, extending a manicured hand. "Thank you so much for meeting with me. This is all so tragic." "Please, sit down, Miss Thompson." Ronald's voice was professional ice. He didn't take her hand. Sarah sat, crossing her legs in a way that was calculated, seductive. She was trying to work Ronald the same way she'd probably worked James. It was sickening. "Before we begin," Ronald said, "let me introduce you to Mrs. Patricia Harris. She's the primary beneficiary and executor of Mr. Harris's estate." Sarah's eyes finally landed on me, really looked at me for the first time. I watched the color drain from her face. "Mrs. Harris," she stammered, I didn't know you'd be here." "Where else would I be?" I asked quietly. "We're discussing my dead husband's estate, after all." She recovered quickly. I had to give her that. "Of course. I'm so sorry for your loss. James was an amazing man." "Was he?" I pulled out James's phone, setting it on the conference table between us, because I found something interesting on his phone. Messages. To you. Dating back 3 years. Sarah's perfect facade cracked. Just a little. A tremor in her hands. We were colleagues. Friends. I pulled up a message, turned the screen toward her. "Is that what you call someone who writes, 'Can't wait to leave her. She's holding me back'?" Her lips parted. No sound came out. "Or how about this one?" I scrolled. "Our future together." That's an interesting thing to say to a friend, don't you think? "Mrs. Harris, I don't think you understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly." My voice was steel. "I found everything, Sarah. Every message, every photo, every hotel receipt, every dollar my husband sent to your Venmo account, the secret savings account he opened, the life insurance policy he was trying to change." I leaned forward. "So before we discuss what you think James owed you, Why don't you tell me the truth about what you really were?" Sarah's eyes darted to Ronald, looking for an ally. She found none. "James and we were close," she tried. "We connected on a deeper level. He was unhappy. You have to understand—" "What I understand," I cut her off, "is that you helped my husband betray his family. You pressured him for money. You helped him plan to leave his wife and children. And then, when he died, you had the audacity to come to his funeral, hug his children, and cry crocodile tears." "It wasn't like that." Her voice rose, desperation creeping in. "We loved each other. He was going to leave you anyway." There it was, the truth slipping out. "Really?" I pulled out printed messages. "Because these texts show you pushing him constantly. When are you telling her?" "I want our life now." "How much longer do I have to wait?" I slid the papers across the table. "That doesn't sound like mutual love. That sounds like pressure, like manipulation." Sarah's hands shook as she looked at her own words in black and white. "He loved me," she whispered. "He told me he loved me." "Maybe he did," I said, my voice softening just enough to be cruel. "But you know what's interesting? In 3 years of messages, planning this great escape, dreaming of your future together, he never left, not once. He stayed with me, renewed his vows with me, lived in my house, slept in my bed." I leaned back in my chair. "So you tell me, Sarah, if he loved you so much, why didn't he leave? Why was he still planning and stalling and making excuses? Maybe because he was playing both of us. Or maybe," I let the words hang in the air, "maybe he never really planned to leave at all. Maybe you were just convenient." "That's not true." Sarah was on her feet now, fury replacing fear. "You don't know what we had. You can't prove anything. He loved me. He promised me everything." "Sit down, Ms. Thompson." Ronald's voice cracked like a whip. She sat, but the professional mask was gone. Now she just looked desperate, young, caught. "Did he love you?" I asked quietly, because these messages show he never left his wife, even in death. The life insurance policy you were hoping for? Still in my name. The secret account you thought you'd share? Mine. Every penny. Because he never finished changing anything. He procrastinated right up until his heart gave out. I watched her process this, watched her realize that all her plans, all her investments of time and youth and betrayal had gotten her exactly nothing. "No," she breathed. "No, that's not—" "He promised. He promised a lot of things," I said. "To me, too. Turns out James was good at making promises, not so good at keeping them." Ronald cleared his throat. "For the record, Ms. Thompson, Mrs. Harris is the sole legal beneficiary of Mr. Harris's life insurance policy, all bank accounts and property. You have no legal claim to any of his assets. If you attempt to pursue this further, we will be forced to take additional action." "What kind of action?" Sarah's voice was small now. "Well," I said, pulling out another folder, "I also have documentation of all financial transfers from my husband to you over the past 3 years. That money came from our joint marital assets. Legally, I'm entitled to restitution. I could sue you for every penny he sent you." Her eyes went wide. "You can't—" "I can. I also have evidence of an inappropriate workplace relationship that violated your company's ethics policy. I could send this to HR. I could send it to your husband." "My husband?" Her voice cracked. "Leave David out of this." "The way you left my children out of it?" I asked softly. "Michael and Angela had to bury their father. They're in therapy now, trying to understand why their daddy's gone. Should I tell them their father was planning to leave them too, or should I protect them from that truth?" Tears were streaming down Sarah's face now, ruining her perfect makeup. "Please, please don't destroy my life." "Your life?" I stood up, gathering my papers. "I'm not destroying anything, Sarah. I'm just making sure the truth comes out. What happens after that, that's on you." "Mrs. Harris, save it." I moved toward the door. "You wanted to talk about what James owed you? He owed you nothing. But you owe my family an apology you'll never be able to give. You owe David the truth about who you really are. And you owe yourself some serious reflection on the choices you've made." I paused at the door, looking back at her. She looked small now, diminished. Not the confident seductress who'd walked in, but a scared girl who'd gambled and lost. "One more thing," I said. "If you ever try to contact me or my family again, I will take everything I have to your employer, to David, and to anyone else who needs to know what kind of person you really are. Are we clear?" She nodded, unable to speak. As Ronald and I left the conference room, I could hear her sobbing. Part of me felt satisfaction, but another part just felt tired. "You did good," Ronald said in the elevator. "That took strength." "It's not over," I replied. "She's not going to take this lying down." Ronald smiled grimly. "Then we'll be ready." I was right. Sarah didn't take it lying down. 2 days after our meeting, my phone exploded with texts from the burner number. "You bitch! You think you can threaten me? I have rights. James promised me that money. I'll tell everyone what a cold, heartless wife you were. That's why he came to me. You're going to regret this." I screenshot every message, documented every threat, and I waited. Because rage makes people sloppy. And Sarah was about to get very, very sloppy. Marcus called me 3 days later. "David Thompson filed for divorce this morning." My heart sank despite myself. He saw the financial records I sent? More than that, he hired his own investigator after your email. They found everything: the affairs, the debts, the money your husband was sending her. David's taking the house. It was his inheritance from his grandmother. Sarah's going to come out of this with nothing. Good. But I felt genuinely bad for David. "There's more," Marcus continued. "Someone sent an anonymous package to Stratford Tech's HR department. Messages between Sarah and your husband. Photos. Evidence of an inappropriate workplace relationship." "Someone?" I kept my voice neutral. "Someone," Marcus confirmed with a smile in his voice. "HR called Sarah in for a meeting yesterday. She's been suspended pending investigation." "Will she be fired?" "Almost certainly. This isn't her first workplace affair, and the company's got a zero-tolerance policy now after a lawsuit last year. They're building a case to terminate without severance." I should have felt victorious. Instead, I just felt hollow. The pieces of Sarah's life were falling like dominoes, exactly as I'd planned. But there was no satisfaction in it, just a grim sense of justice grinding forward. Karen came over that night with wine. We sat in my kitchen, our war room as she'd started calling it. "Sarah's Instagram went private today," she reported, scrolling through her phone. But not before I got screenshots of the comments, people asking questions, friends wondering what's going on. Her last post was from your husband's funeral, a black square with R.I.P. James. The comments got nasty. How nasty. Interesting how broken up you are over a coworker. Maybe his wife should be the one mourning. Someone definitely knows something. Word was getting out. In the age of social media, secrets didn't stay secret long. My phone buzzed. Marcus again. "Patricia, Sarah Thompson tried to withdraw money from a joint account with her husband today. David had already frozen it. She also tried to use 3 credit cards. All declined. She's essentially broke." "Good," I said flatly. "There's something else. She's been trying to contact people at Stratford, colleagues who might vouch for her. No one's responding. She's been iced out." That's how it worked in corporate America. Once you were tainted, no one wanted the association. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched Sarah's life systematically disintegrate. Her suspension turned into termination. Stratford Tech cited violation of workplace ethics policies and misuse of company resources. No severance, no reference. David filed a restraining order after Sarah showed up at his parents' house, causing a scene. His divorce petition cited adultery, financial deception, and emotional abuse. Sarah's apartment, The expensive one in Lincoln Park that David had been paying for, eviction notice was filed when she couldn't make rent. Her social media presence vanished entirely. Instagram deleted, Facebook gone, like she was trying to erase herself. And through it all, she kept texting me. The messages evolved from angry to desperate. Please, I'm sorry, I didn't mean those things I said. I've lost everything, my job, my husband, my home. You've destroyed my life. Is this what you wanted? To see me suffer? I never responded, just saved every message. But that last question haunted me. Is this what I wanted? I sat with Michael and Angela one evening, watching them do homework at the kitchen table. They seemed lighter lately. Michael had smiled at dinner, a real smile. Angela had stopped sleeping with James's shirt. They didn't know about Sarah, about the affair, about any of it. And I prayed they never would. Mom? Angela looked up from her math worksheet. Are we going to be okay? Such a loaded question from a 12-year-old. Yes, baby, I said, smoothing her hair. We're going to be just fine. I miss Daddy, she whispered. I know, I miss him too. And it was true. I missed who I thought he was. I mourned the man I'd believed I'd married, even though that man had never really existed. Michael caught my eye. He'd been quiet about James's death. Too quiet. Processing in his own way. Mom, he said carefully. Dad wasn't perfect, was he? My breath caught. What makes you say that? I've been thinking about all those business trips, how he missed my games, how sometimes he'd be weird when you asked about work. Michael's voice was steady, older than his 16 years. I'm not stupid. Something was going on. I couldn't lie to him, not anymore. No, baby, he wasn't perfect. Nobody is. But you loved him anyway? I loved who I thought he was, I said honestly, and I loved the family we built together. That part was real. Michael nodded slowly. Are you going to be okay, Mom? My son, asking if I was okay, taking care of me when I should be taking care of him. I am, I assured him, because I have you and Angela, and that's enough. Later that night, after the kids were asleep, I sat alone with my thoughts. Sarah Thompson's life was in ruins. She'd lost her husband, her job, her home, her reputation, everything. I'd orchestrated it all, piece by piece, methodically. Was I proud? No. Satisfied? Barely. But I was at peace, because Sarah hadn't just helped James betray me. She'd threatened my children's future. She'd tried to claim money that should go toward Michael's college and Angela's braces and their security, and she'd done it all without a single moment of remorse until she got caught. My phone buzzed one final time. A text from Sarah's number. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed me. I hope you can live with yourself. For the first time, I responded, I can live with myself just fine. The question is, can you? I blocked the number. It was done. Sarah Thompson had learned what happens when you try to destroy a woman who spent 20 years holding her family together through every storm. When you mistake grief for weakness, when you underestimate the quiet strength of a black woman who's finally had enough. She'd wanted to know if I was gone yet. No, I was very much here, standing, fighting, winning. And I wasn't going anywhere. 3 weeks after Sarah's termination, I sat Michael and Angela down at our kitchen table, the same table where we'd shared thousands of meals as a family, where James had helped with homework, where we'd laughed and argued and lived our lives. It was time for the truth. Kids, I need to talk to you about something important, I began, my heart hammering. About your dad. Michael's jaw tightened immediately. He knew. Maybe not the details, but he knew something was coming. Angela looked up from her hot chocolate, eyes wide and innocent. What about Daddy? I took a deep breath. Karen had helped me plan this conversation with a family therapist, how to be honest without destroying their memories completely. Children deserved age-appropriate truth, not sugar-coated lies. Your father loved you both very much, I started. That part was always real, but he made some mistakes, big mistakes that hurt our family. What kind of mistakes? Michael's voice was hard, defensive. He was seeing someone else, another woman, for a long time before he died. The words hung in the air like smoke. Angela's face crumpled. Like a girlfriend? Yes, baby. Like a girlfriend. But he was married to you. Angela's voice rose, confused and hurt. That's not allowed. You're right. It's not. I reached across the table, took her small hand, and it was wrong. Very wrong. Michael stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. I knew it. I knew something was off. His hands clenched into fists. All those trips, all those times he missed my games. He was with her? Michael, who is she? His eyes blazed with fury I'd never seen in my son. Who's the woman who helped ruin our family? I hesitated. Did they need to know Sarah's name? Did they need to know she'd stood in our house at the funeral? It doesn't matter who she is, I said carefully. What matters is how we move forward. It matters to me, Michael's voice cracked. Dad died, and I thought he was a good man. I've been feeling guilty for being angry at him for dying, but he was just a cheater. He was planning to leave us? The pain in his voice broke my heart. He was complicated, baby. People are complicated. He loved you. Don't. Michael's eyes were wet. Don't tell me he loved us while he was planning to leave. Don't make excuses for him. Angela was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. That lady at the funeral, she whispered. The pretty one with the fancy shoes. She was crying so much. Was that her? My blood ran cold. Children see everything, notice everything. What made you think that? I asked gently. She kept looking at his picture, like she loved him. And she hugged you, but her eyes were mean. Angela wiped her nose on her sleeve. Is that lady why Daddy was always tired? Why he didn't come to my dance recital? Out of the mouths of babes. Yes, sweetheart, that's part of why. Angela's face transformed. The grief that had haunted her for months shifted into something else. Understanding, anger, clarity. I don't want to remember her at the funeral, she said firmly. I don't want to think about her at all. You don't have to. Michael was pacing now, processing. Does she know that we know? Does she know she destroyed everything? She knows, I said quietly, and she's facing consequences for her choices. Good. Michael's voice was cold. She should suffer. Michael, no, Mom, don't ask me to be understanding. Not about this. He turned to face me, and I saw my son becoming a man in real time. You've been protecting us, holding everything together, working all those extra shifts. And he was taking your money to spend on her? I'd never told them about the financial betrayal, but Michael was smart. He'd pieced it together. Yes, I admitted. He was. That's theft. Michael's jaw set. He stole from his own family. Technically, it was joint money. It was your money, Mom. Your overtime. Your sacrifice. Michael came back to the table, sat down heavily. I'm glad she lost everything. I hope she's miserable. Michael, that kind of anger will eat you alive, I said softly. Trust me, I know. Aren't you angry? He demanded. I was. I am. But I'm also tired, baby, and I learned something through all of this. Holding on to rage just poisons you. She hurt us, yes. Your father hurt us worse. But we get to choose how we respond. We get to choose whether we let it destroy us or make us stronger. Angela climbed into my lap, even though she was getting too big for it. Are we going to be okay, Mama? I held my daughter close, breathed in her shampoo smell. Yes, baby, we're going to be better than okay. How? Michael asked quietly. How do we get past this? Together, and with help. I looked at both of them. We're starting family therapy next week, All three of us were going to talk about this, process it, heal from it, as a family. Will therapy make me stop being angry at Dad? Michael asked. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe you'll always be a little angry. That's okay. You're allowed to feel however you feel. I feel sad, Angela whispered, and mad and confused. All of that is normal, sweetheart. All of it is okay. We sat there together, the three of us, in the ruins of what we'd thought our family was, but somehow in the honesty and pain and tears, something new was being built, a family based on truth, on resilience, on love that didn't require perfection. Michael finally spoke again, his voice softer. Mom, thank you for telling us, for not lying. You deserve the truth. And Mom? Angela looked up at me with those big eyes. You're the strongest person I know, stronger than Daddy ever was. I kissed the top of her head, tears streaming down my own face now. We're all strong, baby. We're Harris strong. And nothing, not betrayal, not lies, not loss, is going to break us. That night, after the kids were in bed, I sat in the dark living room and let myself feel everything. The grief, the rage, the exhaustion, the hope. We'd turned a corner. My children knew the truth now, and we could start healing from a place of honesty instead of living in the shadow of lies. James's betrayal had tried to destroy us. Instead, it had revealed our strength. I was pulling weeds in my front garden on a Saturday morning when the car pulled up. A beat-up Honda Civic, rust-eating at the wheel wells, so different from the luxury vehicles Sarah used to favor. She got out slowly, and I barely recognized her. Gone were the designer clothes and perfect makeup. She wore jeans and a faded Northwestern sweatshirt. David's, I realized with a jolt. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. Dark circles hollowed her eyes. She'd lost weight, the kind of weight you lose when stress eats you alive. She looked haunted. I stood up slowly, pulling off my gardening gloves. Karen was inside with the kids. I'd made sure I wasn't alone. We'd set up a system after Sarah started showing signs of instability. Patricia, Sarah's voice cracked. Please, I just need to talk to you. You need to leave my property. My voice was calm, measured. There's a restraining order. You're violating it right now. I know, but I'm desperate. She took a step closer. I took a step back. Please, just 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. You have nothing to say that I need to hear. You destroyed my life. The words exploded out of her, raw and ragged. Everything I had, my job, my marriage, my home, gone. Because of you. I looked at her steadily. No, sweetheart. You destroyed your own life. I just made sure everyone knew the truth. The truth? Sarah laughed bitterly. The truth is that James loved me. We were going to be together, and you couldn't stand that someone younger, prettier, better could take what was yours. The old Patricia, the one who discovered those messages at 3 a.m., would have flinched at those words, would have felt the cut. But I wasn't that Patricia anymore. Is that what you tell yourself? I asked quietly. That you were better? That stealing another woman's husband made you special? I didn't steal anything. He came to me willingly. Because you manipulated him. You saw a man going through a crisis and you exploited it. You pressured him for money, pushed him to leave his family, made him promises you had no right to make. I crossed my arms. And when he died, before he could give you everything you wanted, you had the audacity to text his phone asking when I'd be gone, like I was just an obstacle to your payday. Sarah's face crumpled. It wasn't about money. I loved him. Did you? Or did you love what he could give you? The expensive dinners, the hotel weekends, the dream of escaping your own marriage to a good man who worked 2 jobs to support your lifestyle. You don't know anything about my marriage. I know David is a teacher who coached debate and tutored on weekends to pay for your BMW. I know he loved you enough to be blind to what you were doing. I know you destroyed a good man's trust the same way you helped James destroy mine. I paused. And I know he deserves better than you, just like I deserve better than James. Sarah sank down onto my porch steps, her body shaking with sobs. I've lost everything. Everything. I can't find work. David won't talk to me. My family won't help me. I'm living in my car, Patricia. My car. Part of me felt a twinge of sympathy, but only a small part. You made choices, Sarah. You chose to pursue a married man. You chose to pressure him for money. You chose to stand at his funeral and play the grieving friend while texting his phone about collecting what you thought you were owed. Every consequence you're facing now, you earned them. Is that what you wanted? She looked up at me, mascara-less eyes red and swollen. To see me suffer? I sat down on the step above her, close enough to talk, far enough to maintain distance. You want to know the truth? I didn't do this for revenge. I did this because you threatened my children's future, because you helped a man steal from his own family, because women like you, women who prey on weak men and broken marriages, need to understand there are consequences. I'm not a predator, she whispered. Aren't you? You did this before, at your old job. You have a pattern, Sarah. You target married men with resources, extract what you can, and move on when it gets complicated. James wasn't your first. He probably wouldn't have been your last. She was silent, and her silence was confirmation enough. But more than that, I continued, my voice softening slightly, I did this for every woman who's been betrayed, every wife who's worked herself to exhaustion while her husband planned his escape, every black woman who's been told to be strong, to hold it together, to carry the load while being taken for granted. I did this because women like us deserve better than to be discarded like yesterday's trash. James promised me everything, Sarah sobbed. He said we'd have a life together. He said he loved me. He promised me everything, too, 20 years ago, in front of God and our families. At least I kept my vows. I stood up, looked down at her. The difference between us, Sarah? I earned my place in James's life. I supported him through unemployment, raised his children, built our home. You just showed up when things got comfortable and demanded your cut. I loved him. Love doesn't destroy families. Love doesn't pressure and manipulate. Love doesn't stand at a funeral playing the victim while scheming to collect money from grieving children. My voice hardened. What you felt was entitlement. You felt entitled to a life you didn't build, money you didn't earn, and a future you had no right to claim. Sarah stood up, swaying slightly. What do you want from me? An apology? Fine, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I fell in love with your husband. I'm sorry I helped him betray you. I'm sorry, okay? Is that what you need to hear? I don't need anything from you, I said simply. Your apology doesn't undo the damage. It doesn't heal my children's pain or give me back the years I wasted on a lie. Your sorry is worth exactly nothing to me. Then what do I do? She was breaking down completely now. How do I fix this? You can't. That's the point. Some things can't be fixed. They can only be learned from. I pulled out my phone. Now you need to leave, or I'm calling the police. Please. Leave, Sarah. Get help. Get therapy. Find a way to live with what you've done. But leave my family alone. We're done with you. Karen opened the front door, phone already in hand. Should I call 911, Pat? Sarah looked between us, finally understanding that there was no sympathy to be found here, no forgiveness, no absolution. You're really not going to help me at all. Her voice was small, broken. I'm helping you right now, I said. I'm letting you walk away instead of having you arrested for violating a restraining order. Consider it a final kindness, one you don't deserve. Sarah stumbled back to her car. She sat in the driver's seat for a long moment, crying. Then she drove away. I watched her taillights disappear down the street and felt nothing. No triumph, no vindication, just exhaustion and relief. You okay? Karen asked, putting her arm around my shoulders. Yeah, I said. I really am. because standing up to Sarah, saying everything I needed to say without cruelty but with absolute honesty, that had been the closure I needed. Not revenge, just truth. And truth, as it turned out, was powerful enough. 6 months later, I stood in my kitchen packing lunches for a trip. Not just any trip, my first travel nursing assignment. 4 weeks in Portland, Maine, at a hospital that needed experienced ER nurses. Good pay, beautiful location, a chance to fulfill the dream I'd deferred for 20 years. "Mom, are you sure you packed enough socks?" Michael called from upstairs. He'd grown 2 inches since James's death, his voice deeper now. My baby was becoming a man. "I'm sure, honey." Angela bounded down the stairs, dragging her backpack. She was staying with Karen while I was gone, her choice. "Can we video call every night?" she asked. "Every single night," I promised, pulling her into a hug. The insurance money, that $500,000 that James had tried to redirect, sat in trust accounts for both kids' college education. Michael had his eye on Morehouse. Angela talked about becoming a veterinarian. Their futures were secure. The house was paid off. The roof was fixed. I'd even started a savings account for my own dreams. Travel, maybe grad school someday, possibilities that felt real now instead of impossible. "How's therapy going?" Karen asked, helping me load the car. "Good, really good." And it was true. Family therapy had been rocky at first. Michael's anger, Angela's confusion, my own complicated grief. But we were healing, separately and together. Michael had found a support group for teens dealing with complicated grief mixed with betrayal and anger and love. He'd made friends who understood, who didn't judge. Angela's grief counselor had helped her separate her father's love from his flaws. She could miss him and be angry at him simultaneously, could cherish memories while acknowledging lies. And me? I'd learned that strength wasn't just about holding things together. Sometimes strength was letting yourself fall apart, asking for help, admitting that betrayal hurts even when you're resilient. "Did you hear about Sarah?" Karen asked quietly. "No, and I don't want to." I'd blocked her number, deleted the evidence files, closed that chapter. Whatever she's doing, wherever she is, it's not my concern anymore. "Fair enough." Karen paused. "Though you should know. Your complaint to Stratford Tech about their workplace relationship policies? They implemented major changes, mandatory ethics training, stricter enforcement. You might have saved someone else from going through what you did." That made me smile. Maybe some good had come from all of this after all. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus, the PI. "Just wanted to check in. Hope you're doing well. You're one of the strongest people I've met. That family of yours is lucky to have you." I responded, "Thank you for everything. We're thriving." And we were. Michael's grades had improved. Angela was dancing again. We laughed at dinner. We talked about James honestly, the good and the bad, without pretending he was either a saint or a monster. "Mom?" Michael appeared in the doorway. "I know I was really angry when you first told us about Dad. About what he did. You had every right to be." "I know, but I've been thinking." He shifted uncomfortably. "I'm glad you told us the truth, even though it hurt, because now I know what kind of man I don't want to be. I know what real commitment looks like because I've seen you live it, even when it was hard, even when you had every reason to give up." My eyes stung with tears. "Michael, I'm saying thank you for being honest, for being strong, for showing us that we don't have to be perfect. We just have to be true." He hugged me, this young man who used to be my little boy. "Have an amazing time in Portland. You deserve it." Later, after I'd hugged the kids one more time and gotten in my car, I sat for a moment in my driveway, looking at the house James and I had bought together, where we'd raised our family, where everything had fallen apart and been rebuilt. I didn't need revenge, I realized. I never had. What I'd needed was truth, justice, the ability to look my children in the eye and know I'd protected them, the freedom to build a future not defined by someone else's betrayal. James was gone. Sarah had lost everything. David was rebuilding his life with a new partner. I'd heard through the grapevine. And me, I was finally, truly free. If you're watching this, if you made it all the way through my story, thank you. Thank you for bearing witness to my pain and my healing. Thank you for understanding that sometimes justice looks quiet. Sometimes it looks like protecting your family and speaking truth and walking away from toxic people. To the women watching, know your worth. You are not defined by someone's inability to see your value. You are not diminished by betrayal. You are not required to be understanding and forgiving when someone steals your peace. Strong Black women, strong women of every color. We've been told our whole lives to hold it together, to be resilient, to rise above. And we will, we do. But we're also allowed to be angry. We're allowed to demand justice. We're allowed to protect ourselves and our families without apology. To anyone who's ever been betrayed by someone they loved, the truth always comes out. Always. You can't build a life on lies and expect it to stand. What's done in the dark will come to light. And when it does, you have a choice. Let it destroy you or let it transform you into something stronger. To the cheaters out there, stop. Just stop. If you're unhappy, leave honestly. Don't steal time and money and peace from people who trust you. Don't make promises you don't intend to keep. Don't stand at funerals crying for relationships you betrayed. The pain you cause ripples out to spouses, to children, to the innocent partners of your affair partners. Is it worth it? Is it ever really worth it? As a Black woman, I carry the legacy of ancestors who survived unimaginable pain and still rose. My mama taught me to be strong. My grandmama taught me to hold my head high. But they also taught me that strength includes knowing when to fight and when to walk away, knowing that dignity doesn't require you to be nice to people who disrespect you, knowing that protecting your peace is not the same as being unforgiving. I didn't destroy Sarah's life. She did that herself. I just made sure the truth was known, that consequences were faced, that my children's future was protected. Some people might think I went too far. That's okay. They didn't walk in my shoes. They didn't work 60-hour weeks while their husband drained accounts for another woman. They didn't discover at 3 a.m. that 20 years of marriage was built on lies. So I'm at peace with every choice I made. James is gone. I'll never get answers from him, never get closure from the man who betrayed me. But I got something better. I got myself back, my strength, my future, my truth. Sarah lost everything. And while I don't celebrate her suffering, I don't regret it either. She made adult choices. She faced adult consequences. But me? I'm finally free. Free to dream again. Free to trust myself. Free to raise my children with honesty instead of illusions. Which city are you watching from? Are you in Chicago like me? Somewhere else living through your own betrayal? Your own healing journey? Drop it in the comments. Let's build a community of survivors, of warriors, of people who chose truth over comfortable lies. If you agree that truth matters more than revenge, let me know. Hit that subscribe button if you believe women deserve to tell their stories, demand justice, and rebuild their lives without shame. Because here's the final truth. James is gone. Sarah lost everything. David found someone who deserves him. But me? I'm still here, still standing, still fighting, still loving my children and building my future. I'm more than a victim of betrayal. I'm a survivor, a warrior, a woman who learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living well, loving honestly, and refusing to let someone else's failure define your future. That's my story. That's my truth. And I'm finally, completely, beautifully free.